Have you ever felt the ache of a love so fierce it defies death itself? A longing that clings to your bones like damp earth after a storm? Or perhaps you've heard a whisper in the dark, a voice that stirs memories you swore you'd buried, pulling you toward a truth you're not ready to face. In Dekin no Mogura, the Earthbound Mole Episode 4, titled The Mystery of the Mad Dog and the Red Panda, released on July 28, 2025, the air is thick with the scent of old paper and the weight of unspoken devotion. Picture a Tokyo alley where shadows hum with secrets, where a single glance can unravel centuries of sorrow, and where a spirit's love burns brighter than the living dare to dream. This episode isn't just a tale, it's a pulse, a haunting melody of loss and loyalty that echoes the hidden corners of your heart. For those who've been enthralled by the quirky melancholy of Hozuki's cool-headedness or the spectral charm of Natsume's Book of Friends, this chapter reawakens that yearning for stories that linger like a ghost's touch, demanding you surrender to their bittersweet embrace. Can you resist the pull of this mystery, or will you let it draw you into its shadowed dance? Tokyo's Drawer Street is a labyrinth of the forgotten, a place where the living and the dead brush shoulders under a bruised, indigo sky. This is the world of Dekin no Mogura, the earthbound mole, where spirits flicker like will-o'-the-wisps and the past is never truly gone. Episode 4, released on July 28, 2025, immerses us in this liminal realm, where every corner holds a story and every shadow a sorrow. At its core is Momoiki Mogura, voiced by Yuichi Nakamura, whose gravelly timbre carries the weight of centuries, each word a stone laid on a path of exile. His tattered coat and weary eyes, rendered in Brain's Base's sketchy, pastel-drenched style, mark him as a sage caught between worlds, his lantern glowing with the souls he's sworn to save. Magi Koriaki, brought to life by Genki Okawa's earnest cadence, is a college student whose brash exterior hides a heart raw with empathy, his bobble-headed design a quirky contrast to his quiet loyalty. Yeiko Kirihara, Yukio Fuji's voice a blend of skepticism and warmth, navigates the strange world with a courage that feels like a candle in a gale. And Shio Inukai, voiced by Akane Fujita with a trembling ferocity, emerges as a whirlwind of passion, her love for a spectral red panda, a flame that defies reason. Have you ever met someone whose eyes told a story you couldn't quite grasp, yet felt in your marrow? These characters are not just players in a drama, they're fragments of your own soul, their struggles as familiar as a half-remembered dream. Mogura's sardonic grin, Magi's clumsy kindness, Yeiko's sharp wit, Shio's reckless devotion. They weave a tapestry of longing that pulls you closer, asking, what would you cling to if the world turned its back on you? Their designs, with exaggerated proportions and a chalky, bruise-like palette, feel like relics of a forgotten era, yet pulse with a vitality that demands your gaze. Can you feel their presence, their whispered pleas, urging you to step into their haunted world? What does it mean to love something or someone so fiercely that death becomes a mere inconvenience? Episode 4 delves into this question with a tenderness that cuts like a blade, centering on Shio's desperate attachment to a spectral red panda, a spirit bound to her by a love that transcends the grave. Mogura, ever the reluctant guide, grapples with his own exile, his lantern a prison for souls he both pities and envies. Magi and Yeiko, caught in this spectral storm, face their own dilemmas. How do you help someone whose heart is tethered to a ghost? The episode probes the nature of attachment, asking whether love is a chain or a liberation, a burden or a gift. Have you ever held onto a memory so tightly it hurt, or let go of something you couldn't bear to lose? This narrative doesn't just explore these questions. It burrows into your chest, making you feel the ache of Shio's trembling hands, the weight of Mogura's centuries-long solitude. The philosophical undercurrent challenges you to consider, what does it mean to be bound to another, living or dead? Through Shio's tearful defiance and Mogura's weary compassion, the episode unveils truths about the human need to connect, even when it defies logic or life itself. I found myself haunted by the image of a red panda's ghostly glow, its eyes a mirror to a love that refuses to fade. What would you risk to hold onto what you love, knowing it might anchor you to a world of ghosts? Brain's Base crafts a visual poem that feels like a fevered sketch pulled from a haunted artist's mind. The animation in episode 4 is a study in contrasts. Drawer Street's cluttered alleys, bathed in a bluish-purple haze, pulse with a claustrophobic intimacy, while the spectral red panda's glow cuts through the gloom like a heartbeat. The camera moves with purpose. A low angle captures Mogura's looming presence, his lantern casting eerie shadows. A Dutch tilt frames Shio's frantic chase, the world tilting with her desperation. The fluidity of the spirit's movements, soft and dreamlike, contrasts with the gritty texture of the living world, each frame a canvas of longing and loss. Have you ever walked through a city at dusk, where every shadow seems to whisper a secret? The color palette, muted purples and blues punctuated by the red panda's fiery glow, evokes a world caught in eternal twilight, its beauty as unsettling as a half-forgotten memory. I was captivated by a single shot, Shio's face reflected in a puddle, her tears mingling with the red panda's spectral light, a visual elegy for a bond that defies death. The interplay of light and shadow doesn't just illuminate, it narrates, casting Shio's love as a flame against Mogura's weary darkness. Can you feel the texture of that moment, the damp chill of the alley, the warmth of a spirit's glow? This is animation that doesn't just dazzle, it haunts, pulling you into its spectral embrace. Some might murmur that episode 4's humor falters, its comedic beats landing like stones in a still pond, too subdued for a show that promises levity. Yet, this very restraint is its strength, each quiet chuckle a counterpoint to the episode's aching heart, allowing the weight of Shio's love to resonate deeper. We must stop saying that subtlety is a flaw when it's the very breath of a story that lingers. Others might claim the pacing drags, its focus on emotional nuance slowing the supernatural spectacle. But isn't this deliberate cadence the pulse of its power, each pause a moment to savor the ache of connection? The flame of urgency doesn't flicker out, it smolders, building a tension that burns brighter for its patience. Have you ever felt a story unfold slowly, only to realize it's reshaping your very soul? This episode's measured rhythm is not a stumble, it's a dance, inviting you to sway with its ghosts. Tomoki Hasegawa's soundtrack is a spectral chorus, a tapestry of melancholy and mischief that weaves through the episode like a ghost's whisper. The opening theme, Kamidanomi, by Sayudu, is a plaintive plea, its driving rhythm wrapping around Mogura's resolve like a prayer unanswered. In moments of quiet, a single shamisen note quivers, mirroring Shio's trembling heart as she reaches for her spectral companion. The silence is just as powerful, a sudden hush as Mogura's lantern flares, the absence of sound amplifying the weight of a spirit's departure. The sound design, from the rustle of leaves in Drawer Street to the soft hum of the red panda's glow, immerses you in a world that feels alive, haunted, yearning. Can you hear the echo of a song that broke your heart, or the silence that followed a farewell you couldn't voice? A standout moment is a lone flute, its mournful wail underscoring Shio's desperate chase, each note a thread tying her to a love she cannot release. I found myself caught in its spell, as if the music itself could unravel me. Have you ever felt a melody become your breath, its cadence dictating your very existence? This episode's auditory landscape doesn't just enhance, it ensnares, pulling you into its haunted world with every sound. There comes a moment in episode 4 where the air grows heavy with the scent of rain and the weight of a choice that could shatter a heart. Without spoiling, imagine a confrontation where love and loss collide, where a single act of compassion or sacrifice redefines the boundaries between life and death. It's not just a scene, it's a fracture in the soul, a moment where the fragile threads of connection snap, and the echoes of that break ripple through every heart. Shio's trembling hands, Mogura's weary gaze, the red panda's ghostly glow, they converge in a tableau of raw, unfiltered emotion, a spark that could either heal or destroy. Have you ever faced a moment where letting go felt like betrayal, yet holding on meant losing yourself? This moment asks, what does it mean to love something that can never truly be yours? The tension lingers, a wound unhealed, a question unanswered, urging you to seek the truth within the episode's shadows. Can you turn away from this reckoning, or will you let it consume you? As the screen fades, the ghosts of episode 4 linger in your soul, a constellation of questions that glow brighter than any star. What does it mean to hold fast to a love that defies death? What truths lie buried in the ashes of sacrifice? This isn't just an episode, it's a mirror to your own longings, a challenge to face the shadows within. Dekin no Mogura, the Earthbound mole episode 4 doesn't ask for your gaze. It seizes it, demanding you step into its twilight, feel the weight of its choices, and uncover the truths that might just reshape you. Are you ready to walk through the shadows, to let their chill forge something new within your heart? Watch now and let the ghosts claim you. Have you ever felt the pull of a secret so heavy it anchors you to the earth, a truth buried in the dust of forgotten days? Or perhaps you've tasted the bitter tang of regret, a longing to rewrite a choice that haunts your every step? In Dekin no Mogura, the Earthbound mole episode 5, titled The Weight of the Lantern's Dust, released on August 4, 2025, the air hums with the scent of old ink and the ache of sins unconfessed. Picture a Tokyo alley where the moonlight fractures on cracked pavement, where spirits stir like leaves in a restless wind, and where a single truth could either bind or break a soul forever. This episode isn't just a story, it's a pulse, a requiem of redemption that thrums against the scars of your own heart. For those who've been enchanted by the melancholic whimsy of Mushishi or the quiet profundity of Mononoke, This chapter rekindles that primal yearning for tales that linger like dust on your skin, demanding you surrender to their haunted embrace. Can you resist the whisper of this mystery, or will you let it draw you into its shadowed heart? Drawer Street, Tokyo's forgotten vein, is a tapestry of twilight and secrets, where the living tread softly among the restless dead. This is the world of Dekin no Mogura, the earthbound mole, where spirits cling to the edges of existence, their whispers weaving through the city's pulse. Episode 5, released on August 4, 2025, plunges us into this liminal realm, where every cobblestone hums with the weight of untold stories. At its core is Momoiki Mogura, voiced by Yuichi Nakamura, whose voice crackles like dry leaves, each word heavy with the burden of centuries spent guiding lost souls. His tattered coat and lantern, rendered in Brain's base's chalky, pastel-soaked style, mark him as a weary sentinel, his eyes glinting with a sorrow he cannot name. Magi Koriaki, brought to life by Genki Okawa's raw, earnest delivery, is a student whose clumsy courage hides a heart bruised by doubt, his bobble-headed design a quirky mask for his growing resolve. Yeiko Kirihara, Yukio Fuji's voice a sharp yet tender blade, balances skepticism with a quiet yearning, her practical demeanor a shield against the supernatural tide. And Taro, a new spirit voiced by Kaito Ishikawa with a trembling intensity, emerges as a figure of fractured dreams, his ghostly form a mirror to regrets that refuse to fade. Have you ever met someone whose silence spoke louder than their words, a presence that stirred memories you thought you'd buried? These characters are not just figures in a tale, they're echoes of your own struggles, their wounds as intimate as the ones you carry in quiet moments. Mogura's heavy steps, Magi's hesitant smile, Yeiko's piercing gaze, Taro's flickering form, they weave a symphony of longing that pulls you closer, asking, what would you do to right a wrong you can never undo? Their designs, with exaggerated lines and a muted, bruise-like palette, feel like sketches from a dream you can't quite grasp. Can you feel their breath, their regrets, their hopes, brushing against your own? What does it mean to carry the weight of another's sins, to hold a lantern that burns with the dust of their regrets? Episode 5 dives into this question with a tenderness that cuts like glass, centering on Taro, a spirit bound by a betrayal he cannot name, and Mogura, whose own past threatens to unravel under the weight of his duty. Magi and Yeiko, caught in this spectral dance, grapple with their own dilemmas. How do you help a soul find peace when its pain mirrors your own? The episode probes the nature of redemption, asking whether it's a gift earned or a burden borne, a release or a chain. Have you ever faced a moment where forgiveness felt like a wound, or carried a regret that felt heavier than the world itself? This narrative doesn't just explore these conflicts. It sinks into your soul, making you feel the grit of Taro's unvoiced anguish, the weight of Mogura's centuries-long penance. The philosophical undercurrent challenges you to consider, what does it mean to seek redemption in a world that forgets its debts? Through Taro's flickering presence and Mogura's weary resolve, the episode unveils truths about the human need to atone, even when the cost is your own peace. I found myself haunted by the image of dust falling from Mogura's lantern, each speck a fragment of a life left unhealed. What would you give to free a soul, knowing it might bind you to their pain forever? Brain's base crafts a visual dirge that feels like a fevered sketch torn from a haunted poet's journal. The animation in episode 5 is a study in stillness and motion. Drawer Street's alleys, cloaked in a veil of indigo and ash, pulse with a claustrophobic intimacy, while Taro's ghostly form flickers like a candle in a storm. The camera moves with deliberate grace. A low angle frames Mogura's silhouette, his lantern casting shadows that writhe like memories. A tight close-up captures Yeiko's eyes, glinting with unspoken doubt. The fluidity of Taro's movements, soft and ethereal, contrasts with the gritty texture of the living world, each frame a canvas of loss and longing. Have you ever walked through a city at night, where every shadow seemed to hold a secret? The color palette, desaturated blues and purples pierced by the lantern's golden glow, evokes a world suspended in twilight, its beauty as haunting as a fading dream. I was transfixed by a single shot, Taro's ghostly hand reaching through a cracked window, the glass fracturing his reflection like a broken promise. The interplay of light and shadow doesn't just illuminate, it narrates, casting Mogura's duty as a flame against Taro's fading hope. Can you feel the chill of that moment, the dust on your fingers, the glow that warms yet burns? This is animation that doesn't just captivate, it haunts, pulling you into its spectral embrace. Some might murmur that episode 5's pacing lingers too long in quiet moments, its introspective beats a slow burn through shadows. Yet, this very cadence is its triumph, each pause a brushstroke painting the weight of Taro's regret, the ache of Mogura's duty. We must stop saying that stillness is a flaw when it's the very breath of a story that settles in your soul. Others might claim the supernatural elements feel too familiar, echoing tropes of ghostly redemption. But isn't this familiarity the strength of its universality, a mirror to the regrets we all carry? The flame of originality doesn't flicker out. It glows, weaving the familiar into a tapestry of raw, visceral truth. Have you ever felt a story unfold so slowly it reshapes your very heart? This episode's measured rhythm is not a stumble. It's a waltz, inviting you to dance with its ghosts. Tomoki Hasegawa's soundtrack is a spectral lament, a chorus of sorrow and solace that weaves through the episode like a whispered prayer. The opening theme, Kamidanomi by Sayudu, is a haunting hymn, its driving rhythm wrapping around Mogura's resolve like a shroud of dust and light. In moments of quiet, a single kodo note trembles, mirroring Taro's flickering existence as he grapples with his past. The silence is just as potent, a sudden hush as Mogura's lantern dims, the absence of sound amplifying the weight of a soul's confession. The sound design, from the rustle of wind through Drawer Street to the soft crackle of Taro's ghostly form, immerses you in a world that breathes with longing. Can you hear the echo of a regret you couldn't voice, or the silence that followed a choice you couldn't undo? A standout moment is a lone shamisen, its plaintive wail underscoring Magi's quiet realization, each note a thread tying him to Taro's pain. I found myself caught in its spell, as if the music itself could unravel me. Have you ever felt a melody become your heartbeat, its cadence dictating your very breath? This episode's auditory landscape doesn't just enhance, it consumes, pulling you into its haunted world with every note.